Welcome to Small Town Times. We're going to be talking baseball, umpiring. I was at the NDA Baseball Championship Final on June 14th, my birthday. Got a little video, got an excellent clip. A little bit of a controversial call in everybody's mind. We're going to get some feedback from Dave Saad, the umpire of the game, and Louis Ricci, two guys that have been doing a lot of the umpiring forever. And we wouldn't have high school baseball during the day without these guys. So the video is right here. We're going to show it, and then we're going to talk about it. Now, there you go, Dave. I think you fluked the right call here because, as we were talking about, the tag was high, a little late, but when the foot was sliding in, it was up above the plate, never really touched. And, of course, there was almost a near brouhaha afterwards. What do you think of the video after you saw that and you made the call?
I think you're right in a way. I wouldn't say it a fluke. I'd say it was a bang-bang play.
Okay.
I was watching for the tag. It was up the line a little bit, but it was a bang-bang play. If we had 9 different cameras, we would have had 9 different. But when I looked at it, and when my partner looked at it after you showed it to us,
it's the right call.
You ended up making the right call.
I ended up making the right call.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I seen it for the first time yesterday afternoon, and I saw it twice again, and I said, you know what? It happened so quick. It's bang, bang, bang. You got to make the call.
Yeah, it was just a crucial part of the game that had everybody's emotions up. It was 12-11 still for Schollard. The tying runs on third. 2 outs, 2 strikes. It's obvious that the batter was a low percentage chance of catching up to the next pitch.
Yeah, he was going.
Yeah, he was coming.
You know the funny thing about what you just said?
Yeah.
I didn't know what the score was.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I had no idea what the score was.
Yeah, well, the winning, not winning run, but there was another guy on second too, and it would have been pretty cool. But of course, Schollard won the game because their next ups, they ended up scoring like another 9 runs or something like that, eh?
Yeah.
Then the mercy rule kicked in, and then it was game over.
Yeah. And I think Schollard scored like 7 runs or something in the first.
Yeah.
So they opened up strong.
And then Chippewa came back and made it close. And
So there was a number of people booted from that because emotions were high, and you were saying that there's some reports and stuff like that, process.
Well, it goes back to I guess maybe the semifinal game there. You had the big teams. You had Chippewa, you had Scholar, you had Algonquin. Those are the 3 big teams. West Ferris, but the game before that there was a little episode too. So it just carried on to the next game and the next game, and that's the way it goes sometimes. And you got to remember, Chippewa and Scholar, they have rivalries in other sports too. That's just the way it is. And some of these kids cross paths in other sports.
What I love about the high school baseball, and this is actually probably what people wish wasn't the case, but you had house leaguers right up to guys that play A-ball. Right?
Sure.
You have some talent there, and as a coach, you really have to sort of know that about your team and coach that way too, right? Like it's not all a bunch of really highly competitive guys.
Like in talking to one of the coaches, he knew the situation. Not in the final game, but throughout the season. He had strong pitching. But he knew after he got by his 3rd or 4th hitter, it was, pardon the pun, but it was hit and miss. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the nature of the game totally. Nobody's going to have 9 strong batters. Nobody's going to have 4 or 5 strong arms. And, you know, I mean, the semifinal game, the winning pitcher for Chippewa threw one hell of a ball game. He threw a great ball game.
And maybe a lot of the audience, the people that are watching this, don't understand. In high school baseball, you're only allowed to pitch 100 pitches for the week. Well, the semifinals was on the Tuesday. So your better pitcher, you want to use him in the semifinal game because you want to make it into the championship game. You know, if he pitched whatever 100 pitches, well, he couldn't pitch that final game. So, you know, as a coach, you got to watch how you play your marbles, right?
Yeah, you got to coach your arms and protect those kids because they're not like they're going to need that arm.
Yeah,
going further in life.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out one thing there, and you guys might appreciate that. I felt compelled to have to be at the final because I know I'm one of the few undefeated NDA championship coaches out there. I only had one and done. But
And I'll tell you, if you hadn't brought it up, we would have. Because, you know, that's just one of those records that'll never be broken.
Well, I just wanted Larry Tugas to hear that.
Well, you know what? As we speak, you never know. The Blue Jays might be looking for you.
I remember the 1 year I coached, it was with Matt Sukram, Clark Heupel, and with the West Ferris Trojans and Sean Ruddy, who was actually there.
Sean was there.
His son was on the mound for Chippewa in that last bad inning for them because it was, I'm sure they were feeling bad about it. But he's a hell of a goalie. This kid's a hell of a goalie, and he's going places.
But see, Chippewa, I believe, won it last year. I think they beat Algonquin last year, or vice versa.
Algonquin won last year.
Algonquin won. Chippewa won 2 years ago. So you know what I mean. That this year was Scollard's turn. So you know what? That's the way it goes. Now they're talking about next year already, and they're saying Ferris is going to be the team to beat because they're only losing one guy out of that whole roster that they have.
Oh, go Trojans!
Yeah,
right on. One of the other reasons, and this is fun to have a video clip to talk about and the baseball because we all love that baseball, and you guys do a lot of the men's and the other leagues, right? Mm-hmm. I want to hear some of your stories from when you first started as an umpire, right, Louis?
Well, I started in 1978, so this is my 48th year umpiring ball, and I still recall the very first game that I was doing minor baseball in behind West Ferris Arena. Mm-hmm. And I was 13, turning 14 years old. And an umpire from the GMFA came and approached me and says, "We have a tournament and we need help. Would you like to umpire?" I said, "Well, sure. I've never did fastball. I was just doing hardball." Anyway, so I started in the GMFA. And back then there was GMFA. There was the GMFA had 6 teams. Dave played it, 4 teams. But then you had the men's league. They had 8 or 10 teams. And on Sundays I'd go to the East Nipissing, and they'd have 8 or 9 teams playing, and Mercantile and Sturgeon Falls. Anyway, the first game, the GMFA was always a higher league than the men's league. And I'll never forget my very first game. I'm doing the plate, and it was Mr. Transmission who Dave was playing for, and people they know Don Grierson. You know, Don Grierson played in the WHA for the Houston Aeros, and I knew that because I was coaching hockey and playing hockey. And I said, "Wow, this guy's up to bat." And he comes up, and anybody knows Don there, you got a big cigar, but he'd smoke it back to the bench. He'd come up to the base, and he'd never swing at the first 2 pitches. So the first pitch comes, and I go, "Strike." It's like the movie on Naked Gun. And I call a strike, and he'd look back, and he'd shake his head, step out of the batter's box, and he'd shake his head, and it takes him another 2 minutes to get back in there, and he gets all set up there. Next pitch, strike 2. Strike 2! A little louder this time. I feel good now. You know what I mean? Oh, man, I called 2 strikes on Donnie Grierson, man. So it was great. Once I did that, I said, "I'm ready for this." You know what I mean? I'm ready. But no, that was my first time, and after that, I felt comfortable.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Equipment-wise, well, back then, we didn't have much equipment. Had a mask, had little soccer shin pads, and I wore I had to rent, what Dave still wears today is the outside belly pad. And there I was at 14 years old, and I haven't looked back, and you know what? I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Oh, no kidding. Right on. Even when you're, the kids are talking back to you, the coach is yelling.
You know what? You get used to it. You have thick skin. In one ear and out the other. That's all.
Dave, when did you start?
I started when I was 14. doing minor baseball in North Bay. I was playing minor ball for Kiwanis Playground, and I was umpiring. And I guess when I was 16, I became umpire-in-chief for minor baseball. But there was, like the coaches, there was guys, I don't know if you remember a guy by the name of Duke Schreck. Duke was a great guy. He was involved in ball, but that's when the U.S. military was here. And there was a lot of U.S. military guys that were involved in coaching the kids. So I'm doing a game one night, and this guy, his name was Jackson M. Hunt, and he was from the States. Now, I don't know whether he was a major but I know that he was I don't know what he was. Anyways, he sends a kid home, and the kid, just a terrible slide. We call him out. And this guy goes, "Damn it, that's not the way I showed you how to slide. There's a right way." And as he's yelling, he's running in from the third base box, and he throws a hook slide into home plate. And I said, "You're out." He said, "What do you mean I'm out?" I said, "You're out of the game." And I threw him out of the game. And now that's one thing that I remember from back then. And then after that, I got into playing more. I got into the GMFA. And when I couldn't play anymore, I talked to Louis, and it's been we've been working together for I think 17 years.
Something like that.
It allows you to still go out and be between the lines, the interaction. Yeah, we had a hot game last week or whatever it was, but the idea, like, there's some of the guys that are playing in the senior league right now. We coached them in minor baseball, like Mike Klein and Brad.
They've been there a long time. You're absolutely right.
And
they're there, and they don't argue, Dave. Whatever, it's strike or they get put out on the base pass. Thank you. Goodbye. They go and sit down.
Yeah, but you can kibitz with them. Yeah. Like the other night, Steven Antler. He's at the plate. I think the count was 2-0. Pitch came in. I called it a strike. And Steven will never say, he kind of looks at you. So next inning, I see Steve. I said, "Steve, I blew it." He says, "Well, that's two of us that knew that." But, there's a percentage. I looked this up. 93% accuracy in baseball in the major leagues. So we see a lot of pitches every night. So if you see 200 pitches, figure out the average of how many you're going to miss. Because just because a catcher puts his glove here, there's not a good chance the ball is going to end up there. Well, Louis worked this tournament down in Huntsville for over 20 years, and it's an old-timers senior fastball tournament.
No, that's open. In Huntsville, it's open.
Okay, and it is good ball, where you've got some guys that pitched for Canada in World Championships.
Yes, absolutely.
And now I saw what it was like. Louis had the experience of working good ball, but I saw what it was like. Catcher put the glove there, and you watch, and the ball actually goes there. It's so easy to umpire at that level because everything's in sync.
Yeah, you have Darren Zach from Garden, from Garden
Village?
River, Garden River near the Sioux, and he played for Team Canada. He won a gold medal, and here he is playing in this tournament with the Relics out of Sudbury, and this guy can throw a ball.
I got video of him playing in North Bay here.
That's right. That's right.
Too.
Yeah. That's right. You know what I mean? And these guys could throw a ball. Like, you're talking. The pitching mound in fastball is 46 feet. Well, by the time they step up and they take 2 steps forward, you're close to 30 feet, and that ball's coming and it's humming. Yeah. It's humming.
And it's coming from down, right?
Exactly.
Up, right. So
it's a big difference in the two games. Like, I found when I went back to play baseball, it's a piece of cake to hit baseball because everything breaks down. Whereas in fastball, they've got the drop, they've got the rise, they've got the off-speed pitch. So you've got to adjust pretty quick to either up or down. But I had I guess I'll say pleasure of playing while this guy umpired. Mm-hmm. And I think that in my 23 years in the GMFA, I think I got thrown out 3 times. One was for a fight. One was for being dumb. And the other one, I'm arguing with him at home plate about a call. And we're into a conversation. I'm figuring, geez, I got to be close to the line here.
But you did it because you're trying to get your team going. But go ahead. Yeah.
So, no, I'm not saying you were wrong on this one. Mm-hmm. Anyways, doesn't throw me out. I'm going back to the dugout. I go to throw my hat in the air. It carries, goes into the stands, and he threw me out for throwing my hat in the stands. And the follow-up, we're neighbors, back to back. So the game's over. I go over to his place. We go in. We're watching ball, sitting there and laughing about it. But Louis, when he was umpiring, when I had my junior team, he was the same age basically as a lot of the guys on the team.
Yeah.
So they'd get a little hot about something, and I'd go out, I'd walk out, and I'd say, "Look, Lou, they're all upset," and I'm waving my arms, so they're thinking I'm saying, "But look, I think you made a hell of a call. But as long as they think I'm out here giving you trouble," I said, "they're going to be happy when I go back. But keep doing what you're doing. It's working." And I think it was really great thinking on my part. The only problem is he couldn't keep a straight face. He's out there laughing at me because he can't keep a straight face. But that's where the fun comes in. When you look at it from his side, that's where the fun comes in.
Well, it's like anything else. If you don't have fun at doing something, then eventually you get out, right? Yeah. You know, I recall another situation where I was umpiring. It was the old Calendar Legion, and back then the ball diamond was the other way around, so it was kind of like facing. Well, today it's facing the highway, but I still recall, and he's still living. But Tommy Hawkins, Senior, was playing for Calendar, and he's up to bat, and he gets some 10-year-olds. I believe there was 2 10-year-olds. Hey, batter, batter, batter. Hey, batter, batter, batter. Swing, batter. Anyway, he swings. He hits it to the shortstop. He gets thrown out at first base. He comes back into the dugout, and all of a sudden, he gets in his truck, and he's chasing the kids down highway, down the highway towards Corbeil. So he comes back 10 minutes later, comes back in the dugout. I said, "Tommy, you're not participating in this game, eh? You're out." "What for?" I said, "Tommy, you left the field. You're chasing these young kids down the street. You can't expect to come back and play. You're done. Have a seat." And no, I recall that. Another time was umpiring Eddie Fainer. I don't know, King of his Court. Back in the, I think it was in the early 90s when he brought his 5 guys here.
The 70s.
Well, no,
I think they came back in the 90s
but
too.
no, he came a second time. He came a second time also, but he couldn't pitch. He was in a wheelchair. But his son pitched. But the very first time was the GMFA. I did a game because we had to do little skits. I was doing the plate, and we had to talk because he's going to pitch one from second base. And I said, "This is what you got to do. You sweep the plate. I'm going to zip one right by you, and then we're going to have a little argument and stuff like that." But I'll never forget that. But he came back in the early 2000s, and he was in a wheelchair. But his son came with the rest of the clan, and that was it. I remember I still
was
have
they
his
here
book.
in the 90s at all?
They were here in the early 90s.
Well, no, it was the 70s. I was away.
Okay, then it had to be 79, 80. I know I did the game.
I was away, and we were playing against them, and I said, "Eddie Fainer." I came back for the game and played in the game.
Well, it had to be, Dave, because you didn't play too many years after that.
Oh, I did. I played in 94. I played till 94.
But those guys weren't there then when you were coaching. Yeah.
But anyways, I hit a home run off of them. But there was an incident. And
he allowed you to hit a home run?
No, he didn't allow me to hit a home run. I hit a home run off him.
Not too many people have.
No. And so...
Do you have any proof of that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. I got the articles. Sandro Orlando's catching.
You can't believe what you read in the paper.
Well, back then there was a lot of reporters that had a lot of integrity. Touche. Anyway, Sandro Orlando's the catcher.
Right.
Fainer Jr. comes into home plate, and he slides. Satch makes the play the way a catcher's supposed to make the play. He's out. Fainer comes over to the bench, and he says, "Where's the catcher?" Satch, I'm right here. And he goes right up to him with the finger in the chest. He says, "These people paid to see us, not you, and don't ever do that again." The kid slid wrong. His son slid wrong. So they had a first baseman by the name of John Bateman, who used to play for the Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
And this guy is the size of a small building. He comes over the next inning. "Where's the catcher?" Satch is going, "Geez, here we go again." And he said, "I'm right here." He said, "Did the old man come over and give you heck for what you did?" He goes, "Yeah." In much stronger language than what I'll use here. He said, "The hell with the old man. You made the right play."
Yeah.
But
well, it's all guys and people just being people, right? Like when ball's done right, it's the camaraderie, the professionalism, the just sort of the sportsmanship. It just comes natural to a lot of players. Some it doesn't, but when you see a game where everybody respects each other, it's rare, but it's nice, right? It's really cool.
But I think it's more of that than not, Dave, because let's face it, even the news, what gets the headlines? The negativity. Mm-hmm. There's an umpire that Louis, I'm not going to mention his name, but Louis umpired with him, and he came and joined us in the senior league for a few years. And he had a fuse about that long. Okay, it didn't take much to get tossed. Yeah. And we were playing one night, and I knew him well enough, and something happened, and he got all worked up and everything else. And I went over to him after, and I said, "Why are you out here?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm out here to have fun." And I said, "I don't think you're having a lot of fun." And he said to me after, he changed his mind, his whole approach to the game, because he realized, and he was a good umpire, and he umpired for a long time. But for me, I mean, we're a small town, we're playing pickup ball or whatever we want to call it, but there's still integrity in the game. And I think the one story that never will come out until this, about the game that we were talking about, is when that game ended, there were 4 players from the Chippewa team that came up to us, thanked us, and apologized for what happened. I got home, and we got another text from another player apologizing. So we had an isolated incident with, and I'll be the first to defend the player that got tossed, because I think he's a great person. I've known him for a long time. He's a great person. He wanted to win.
Yeah.
Okay?
He's passionate.
Did he get carried away? Yeah. But let's not judge someone on one incident.
That's right.
No.
You know?
And that's the other thing. When after he got tossed, and which came after he tossed his helmet, which came after whatever, I put my camera away. I stopped recording. Like, even when you guys were going back and forth in the dugout, I could have had a really good clip of you tossing the one teacher coach. I could have had a great clip of him, of the player trying to take his jock off and at the bench, and you yelling. And I guess maybe because my kid went through it too. That's not necessary. I don't need that as a reporter. I'm not actually a reporter. Now, if I was assigned to that, I was getting paid to do it,
correct,
and I had to do the write-up, it would have been part of it all. I would have described everything, the good, bad, and the ugly. But I didn't. If that was my kid, I'll give him a hot-headed moment, because I've known my kid had I've had hot-headed moments. I'm glad there was no cameras around when I was growing up, right? It's just terrible. So once in a while, if it's appropriate, you capture that stuff. But this is high school, right? And these are kids, and to just show up at the final game and pretend like Joe journalist when I haven't been there for any other games. Any journalist should have to check themselves. If you're not there for the season, don't rub people's nose in it for the final game.
But
right?
Dave, that's about integrity.
A little bit.
I think that's about integrity. And for me, like Louis this is my 67th year of going to the Ball Diamond, and I love the sport, and I respect the sport. I try and do what we can do to respect the sport, and you don't take on the integrity of the sport. And when I went and played at a fantasy camp a number of years ago, and I'm not dropping names here, but I'm sitting there with Brooks Robinson, my childhood idol, and we're having a conversation. And I said to him, will Pete Rose ever be put in the Baseball Hall of Fame? And he said, I hope not. He says, you can't question what he did as a player. He says, but you can't forgive what he did to the integrity of the sport. He said, if they ever put him in, he said, I would bet that 3/4 of the people that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame would never return to Cooperstown because they believed in the integrity of the sport.
I'm a little fuzzy on the details there. He bet on baseball.
Yep.
But did he ever bet against him or do anything to change the outcome and to win a bet? Or did he just bet on baseball? I can't remember.
He bet on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't admit to it, but they caught him on it. And then the commissioner at the time probably would have just given him the suspension, but he died. And then I think it was Giamatti came in and gave him the lifetime ban.
But he just bet on it. Did he bet on his own
Yes.
games?
He bet on
Okay.
his own team
To win?
to win. Yeah.
And was he points shaving or anything like that? Or is it just
no,
for
he
the
was
win?
betting on his team to win.
So that was in the 80s, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And now he's selling merchandise in Las Vegas.
Well, you know what? I don't care if an athlete bets on his own team to win.
But that's against the rules of Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
Who's the guy that just got, another guy just got tossed or you got a ban for betting on baseball? You can't.
Well, there's a guy who got banned from basketball, like he was a basketball player,
Yeah,
but he was actually participating in games that, and his actions impacted the way benefited him on the bet.
What did Pinto do with the Ottawa Senators? I think he bet on the hockey games. I believe he got that 60-game ban. You know, he just came back just before the playoffs. You know, I don't know if he bet against his own team or whatever, but yeah.
I don't know. I was just reading a story about a UFC guy who they've changed it again. See, I don't mind if you bet on yourself to win. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me if you bet. You're gambling. Everybody else is gambling. There's all kinds of things that can happen.
All different things going on.
But you'd have to register your bet, and you have to bet on your team to win, and to not participate in the spreads. I wouldn't have a problem. I know you got to make a rule that just whatever, but
integrity.
yeah.
Integrity
Well, integrity is the thing where you draw a line somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I draw the line over here.
But, getting back to the umpiring situation.
Yeah.
And
I wanted to talk about that, and give me a little picture about how baseball's going in North Bay right now. Just the numbers and stuff like that.
it's going up.
That's
It's
what I
going
thought.
up. There's a good group of people. There was a period there for a few years, and I will give full credit to Curtis Winrow. Mm-hmm. He picked up the ball, and he made sure that minor baseball continued. There's now another group that has picked it up. The numbers are going in the right direction. They have a plan. They have an administrator that's overseeing the program. And they're doing coaching clinics. The big issue that's going to be a stumbling block is the umpires.
Yeah.
Like we heard a
that's any
couple of weeks
sport.
ago, didn't they? That they canceled a game because there were no umpires. They just
There's tournaments all over Ontario, and we're talking fastball. We're talking girls fastball. No umpires. It's no different from hockey. They're looking for officials. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to do it no more. Why? Too much of this. Too much on the other side of the stands. Parents yelling, screaming, threatening.
But-
we have a big problem.
But Lou, the other problem is, and I did hockey for a long time. Refereeing hockey is a hell of a lot easier than umpiring ball, because there's the rule book for one in hockey. When you go under the section of misconducts, everything's right there. Mm-hmm. In terms of baseball, you got to search in the rule book to find. If you're looking at X rule, it might be here, it might be over here, it might be in page 6, might be on page 8, and it's a difficult sport to know all the rules. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is where I'm lucky because I got this guy out there with me. I think I know probably 90% of the rules, but I need that other 10%. I'll be the first.
Well,
to
you always
admit it.
have confidence when you're working with somebody that that's been there a long time. But again, I'll go back to hockey. I've been coaching a long time, and the officials just aren't there. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they're fed up. You can't just be throwing people out of the game all the time, but that's what you have to do.
Is it really that much worse than it was as far as yelling, or people got thinner skin?
I think the issue is more that there's not as many older senior officials available.
Right.
Back when I was officiating, we had Kenny Miller was the level 6. There were 5 of us at a level 5. We always made a point of going back and working minor hockey. We were all supervisors out there working with the kids. And quite honestly, the problems with the parents, it wasn't it wasn't as big. Today, now I couldn't tell you the last time I was in a rink to watch a minor hockey game, but you hear the stories.
Yeah.
You know, you know, it's just there, and the kids, they're intimidated. And I've always said, coaches forget that they're teachers, not only for their players, but also for those kids that are officiating, because it's all part of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's got lost, I think, somewhere along the line.
Like you said, Dave, you have to have thick skin. You know what I mean? I've umpired for years, or I'll go watch sometimes a minor baseball game, just about 5 minutes, and you see the young lad. He's trying. You know, he's 12 years old, and he'll call a strike, but the ball hit the dirt, but he calls it a strike. Then you got somebody on the other side of the fence just giving it to the kid. You know what I mean? Why? Why?
I know I think it's a learning curve for every parent, every coach, every player to go through the where you don't hear yourself and how stupid you sound, right?
Exactly.
I think every person goes through that, and they end up. It takes a while. It takes a little while for them to figure out that this isn't that important. That there's another reason for being here. It took me a while. But I remember once when Dylan was umping. There was a businessman in town that was in behind watching, and he was chirping them the whole time, right? And so, which is, comes with the thing,
Sure.
right? Dylan wasn't crying or anything like that. He was just like, that guy's a jerk, right? So I wrote about it. Well, I didn't name the guy,
Yeah.
but I made it pretty clear that who I was talking to. And the first thing he did was send me a thing. And he said, well, let me get it straight here, Dave. Just for the record, I was an athlete, because I said, looks like the guy never picked up a baseball.
You see, just the point you're making.
Yeah.
You got two learning curves here.
Yeah.
He never played a game of ball in his life.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I wouldn't have signed. I've seen him play. I wouldn't have signed him as a bat
Seen
boy.
me throw, yeah.
I would. And I played, and I look at the game. I look at the game a little bit more from a player's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whereas Louis looking at it from years, decades of experience of wearing the uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm bringing that over, and you try and think of the times. And it's the big thing is, in a situation like what we've had, is your judgment.
Yeah.
I said, Louis, we've been doing high school ball for I don't know how long.
Well, I started since it started at the
I
beginning.
don't think, from when you and I were working, I don't think we ever threw anybody out.
No.
Maybe one person
No,
up
one
until
person.
this year.
No kidding, eh?
Yeah.
But just on a footnote, David, when we talked about this, when this situation happened last week, there was a little guy, umpire. He says he umpires, I don't know what, U8, U9. So I said, okay, you watch me. I was doing the bases, doing the play. You watch all the moves I make. If you have any questions in between, ask me. Then all this fa-la-la happened and everything. And I'm looking, where's my little lad that was supposed to be watching me? He left. He was gone. He says,
That's a little
poor
nuts for
guy.
me.
He's probably saying, yeah, I don't need this.
Yeah.
Hey, remember I told you, I said,
Yeah.
I forgot about the young fella. He was gone. You know? Too bad. I hope he comes around again.
But over the years, we've been like I know from traveling and everything else, exposed to some pretty interesting umpires.
Yeah.
There were two old fellas up in Timmins. Timmins used to have the best fastball tournament.
Schumacher.
One day
One-day
tournament. If
One-day
you got to the
tournament.
finals, that meant you played 6 games in one day. And there was these two old guys. One was Leo Bozer. I forget the old guy. You looked forward to it because they were there. They greeted you like a friend, but they had a job to do. They wanted respect because they gave respect.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I told you the other story where the guy, we were playing in Kirkland with one-eyed Bruce O'Shaughnessy as the umpire, and I'm not making it, he had one eye. And a kid came around first base and drove me in the back. And I turned around and I threw a punch at him. Next thing I know, I had the whole team coming after me. So he threw me out of the game. Okay. So I'm over at the other field, way down on the other side, and I'm talking to Ken Edgar, who was the recreation director up there, and Ken and I knew each other. I'm watching the game with Ken. All of a sudden I hear, 9 black. I told you, out of the park. Okay, so now I go and sit on the hood of my car out on the street, and I'm yelling. I wasn't yelling at him. I'm yelling about the game. And he turns and he says, one more word out of you, and he says, I'm throwing you out of town. But
But over the years, there's been some good baseball here. Whether it's hardball, like I remember the Team Italy came over to play a few exhibition games against the
you were
North
in
Bay
your glory.
team. I was in my glory because I got to be the host for them and showed them City Hall, and they ate at the Davidi Club. And I, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the late Peter Topley at the time was the president of the baseball. No,
Gordon
McNeil. Yes, it was.
Gordon
Thank you.
McNeil.
Yes,
Gord got
you were
my
at City
baseball
Hall.
bat. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We went to City Hall. We got pins and everything. And you know what? They came here to play ball. It was great.
Well, that was
You know
the
what I mean?
launch of the
What
new.
year was that, Dave? 80?
It was early 80s, mid 80s. It was when the Italian junior travel team came in. It was the official reopening of, at that time, Lee Park, which is veterans. Because Gord McNeil came in to see me, and he wanted to know why we didn't have baseball in town. It had died. There was nothing.
There was nothing.
And I figured this guy, geez, he won't leave me alone. You got talking to the mic. So he came in. Finally, I said, you know what? This guy's going to be a savior. So I said, you got to do a presentation to council. He said, well, what do I say to council? So I wrote the report for him. I wrote his presentation. Then I thought it was really funny because council referred it back to me for a report.
Yeah.
And we needed a new backstop and we needed new lights. And Gord fought like heck. The next thing you know, the program's going. The next thing, the Topleys get involved. The next thing you know, we got 1,400 kids playing minor baseball in North Bay. From there, we host the Pee Wee Nationals. From there, we host the Bantam Nationals.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's whether it's that or it's hockey.
There's
Peaks
sort
and
of like a
valleys.
cycle, right?
Peaks and
it
valleys.
does well that somebody really puts everything into it for a number of years. Maybe they have their kid involved. Maybe they have a couple that last that long. They burn out. They got other stuff to do. Other people who try to take it over and maybe it doesn't do as well until somebody comes in with that passion.
Well, you're right. There were two people that in recent history that oversaw minor baseball basically as a one-person committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when they looked around, there was no lineup behind them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but those are the people that I think deserve a lot of credit because they were the bridge.
Yep.
And now we've got some other people like Damon Topley's back in town and he wants to work with the kids. He's got a vast amount of experience.
Mm-hmm.
The new dome out at...
I should have had him in here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's not an umpire. He's not a pitcher either after the other night.
We saw that last night.
So, but you've got the new dome out at Canada College. Hopefully, I think they're putting some batting cages. There's some batting cages in town. But there's areas for skill development. And that's the biggest issue that we have is the skill development.
Yeah.
And sometimes you try and mention little things to some of the kids, and some of them are like sponges, and the other ones are like rocks.
Yeah, we need to get an app for that.
Yeah. As far as fastball, you know, the girls is great. They're humming. They got a lot of young girls playing. As a matter of fact, the third weekend of August is the under 13 All Ontario Championships, which North Bay is hosting. So they'll be using 6 different ball fields that
kidding.
weekend. Yeah. So we'll be hosting that. The only thing they lack in fastball is the men's. Because there's no feeder system. We don't have anything for the boys, which is unfortunate because if you look back at 20, 30 years ago, that was the game in town.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of teams here in North Bay that have won All Ontario Championships. Well, Dave won back-to-back, I think, 86 and 87, I believe. And the first year was right here. Because I remember I did that final game. It was the Fraser Tavern, and I believe you beat Barrie, eh?
That was the second game. No, we won... First year we won in Peterborough, and then we came back here and we defended here. I forget who it was, but we defended here.
And then Northern Honda, which had a good, Larry Tugas played in that team, and Dave Yam and Kenny Besner were pitchers, and they won right in their backyard. Jimmy Lisk was part of that team, and that was in 1992.
Was Kenny Besner a slugger too?
Yep.
He was a good hitter. Kenny was a good hitter.
I think
Absolutely.
I did a feature in 1989 of the GMFA's top hitter.
Yeah.
Would that be about his time?
He was a good hitter.
Kenny was a real good hitter. Yeah,
well,
he was a good
somebody
hitter.
won. I think it was him that won the batting championship.
I don't know if he may have won it in the 90s.
I'll have to go check my North Bay Independent records.
We all know would answer that question. Yeah, Pete would answer that question. Pete had stats on everything.
No, and I have them all in my basement now.
Yeah, you can check that out tonight. But no, Kenny's one of the best pitchers that I've seen over the years. Mind you, then you had Ron Bean, Brian Waters when I started was one heck of a pitcher. And
well, you had Waters, you had Bean, you had Cook, you had Danny
Cook,
Gagnon,
Danny Gagnon,
you had Billy Jackal,
yeah,
you had Brian Whitehead, you had Murray Moore, you had Billy Sundstrom.
Yeah.
Then you had all the guys, Rives and
Chuck Schall,
guys from Sturgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
No,
I mentioned Sturgeon, Cache Bay. The first year I played in the Mercantile League, we're over playing in Cache Bay, and all of a sudden, grab your stuff and get in your car. We got to get out of here. What?
Oh.
Catcher pull a knife on the umpire.
Yeah.
I got some good stories. Cache Bay and Sturgeon back in the day. There, they had some good rivalries. Oh yeah, but you know what? There was ball everywhere. Back in the day, you know what I mean? And it was good ball. Like I still remember the East Nipissing fastball.
That was
Sunday afternoons, you'd have Bonfield playing Corbeil. Well, all the wives or girlfriends with the kids would come out. They'd have a picnic.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was an event, and away they went. You had Astorville, Chisholm, Powassan. They had 8 teams. It was great on a Sunday afternoon. Where did it all go?
I don't know. It's unfortunate because it's a great thing, especially when you combine it. When you look at what I loved about it the most was that it was outside, not in an arena.
Yeah,
and it was warm.
You could stand there and daydream a little bit. You could hear. You could stand back if you wanted. You're not in the fray. If you want, you can go heckle the ump, right? But you could choose your position and you could kind of divorce yourself of whatever or get right involved. Like you have a lot of choices, but just to hear the game going on and to hear the hits, and it's something special. Anybody should be involved. Yeah.
But it's a difficult sport to play. They say that the toughest thing in sport to do is to hit a round ball with a round bat. And if you take a look at Major League Baseball, if you play 10 or 12 years and you have a batting average of 300, which means you failed basically 2 out of 3 times, there's a good chance you'll go into the Hall of Fame. And there isn't another sport in the world that has those kind of statistics.
Yes. Yeah, no, it is a difficult game. And if you're picking it up on late, it's really hard, right, for the kids. If I remember the one year where we coached high school.
We're back to that again.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I'll keep
You're
mentioning
really
it.
proud of that. Keep going.
What I loved was that we had a grade 12 kid that never played baseball before, and we gave him the Rookie of the Year award. Because even in the championship game, he hit a double, right? And it was just something special to see a kid get a chance to play a game. He was a grade 12 kid. He would probably never play ball again. It was his 1 year. And he learned how to hit and catch and throw just enough to contribute. He's a number 9 guy, but it meant something for him.
It did, and it meant something for you, too. And we had a kid in minor ball. He never had a hit all summer, but he had his regular spot in the lineup.
Yep.
So we're down a run. We're in the semifinals. He's at the plate. What's going to happen?
Of course.
We had a couple of runners on. The ball found his bat.
Yeah.
Okay. He's standing on third. He hits a triple. I go over. I'm coaching first. I go over and I'm high-fiving him and everything else. And I said, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? And he looked at me and he said, Coach, I didn't want to be the last out of the season. Now, the tears are flowing in him. They're flowing in me. I'll bet you 25 years later, I'm at the grocery store one day and this lady comes up to me. She says, you probably don't remember me. I said, no, you're right. And it was the mother. And she said, he's never forgot that moment where he came through. And isn't that something that you want out of every sport? For that kid that, as you said, the last kid picked, having a moment.
Yeah, those are special. Those are special. Anything else you guys wanted to share?
What I get, because a lot of these guys that are playing baseball today, they give it a try to play fastball, but it's a different game.
It is.
Totally different. And remember, you're playing fastball at 60 feet running the bases. Hardball is 90 feet if you're playing the men's league. You know what I mean? And, it's a different game. So how'd it go tonight? Geez, I thought it was easy, but this is a difficult game to play. Fastball is. Your timing's way off, and Dave knows he's played both. The timing just is not there. You know what I mean?
I think, Dave, based on where we started with this conversation, in all the years that I've umpired, and I know the years that he's umpired, that's isolated. Okay, do we have our confrontations at times? What happened in that game, as far as I'm concerned, is an isolated situation. Both of us say that it was probably one of the biggest travesties of that we've seen on a diamond. But it was one situation. You can't judge what happened on that situation. You can't judge the individuals. Everybody has their moments.
Everybody's better than the ones that weren't good that day. They can be better.
Yeah. So it was, we'll keep doing it.
But you know what, Davey? And you said it a long time ago. If there's a mistake on the field, we huddle up, we get the call right. It's about getting the call right.
No, and I think if you really look at that particular game and those particular teams, the better, deeper team won.
Yeah,
from what I saw. And I think I haven't been there all season.
For sure.
It's hard for me to make that. Yeah. But from what I could tell,
no, you're right.
And I don't think, based on the reactions that the guys that weren't having a good day, they didn't deserve to win that because of that a little bit too. Yeah. They may say it was causal, but
But there isn't a baseball person that wouldn't always say good pitching will beat good hitting. And in the semifinal game, it proved true because the better pitching won. And in the final game, the pitching overcame hitting. Plain and simple.
Both ways. Yeah. So the fundamental.
Yeah.
Well, geez, this is cool. Now, you were saying that there was how many in the Fastball League?
In the Fastball League, in the men's old-timers, there's only 3 teams, and they play Tuesdays and Thursdays up at the CFB Diamond.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are up there.
At what time normally?
7:30 right now.
Yeah. And the men's team that plays down at Veterans, Monday nights? And Wednesdays?
Mondays and Wednesdays. The odd Sundays when there's a makeup. Yeah, they play doubleheaders.
Right.
6-team league.
And the minor ball must be all over the place.
Yeah, you've got Optimist, you've got Centennial, you got Amelia, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
The funny thing, when we commented all the time, because Louis was there, when we played in the GMFA, you didn't think about getting to the game any less than an hour before because you had to do your batting practice, you had to work out, warm up, you had to do all of this. We're looking at it, and there's 2 players, I'm not going to mention their name, they're brothers. You look at the watch, and there's 2 minutes, all good. There's plenty of time because they'll be here within the 2 minutes.
Yeah, they just roll in.
Everybody shows up, but in fairness, they're working. And when I played, it was 7 o'clock. These kids are playing, these young men are playing 6 o'clock. But they're showing up, and what's really neat, they got 8 players. I need a left fielder. And out goes someone from one of the other teams. So,
yeah, well, they're still playing.
Yeah,
they're still playing. It's not
and there's
dead
some
yet.
guys. There's some guys in that senior baseball league like Adam Campbell and Mike Klein. Adam Campbell's been playing since day one. He had a couple of seasons in between where he was injured and he took time off, but they've been around for 20, 25 years. The Kleins, I coached against their dad when they were playing minor baseball against my boys.
Yeah.
So these are guys that they've made it into almost like a lifetime sport.
Yeah,
because they enjoy the game.
Yeah, they have
well,
fun.
That's cool,
Yeah.
and that's what everybody should be doing. Just
Bottom line.
enjoying the game out there. Go through your learning curve there, mature a little, and just relax a little bit more. Right? Just relax a little bit more. These guys are going to have bad calls. Well, just relax.
And we're going to hear it from the fans, and I love it. Hey, Umpy, have an eye. Your eye stuck. Hey, perfect. All right.
Well, there's the one guy that used to have this big flowing mustache there. He used to go to the games. Does he still go?
Oh, he still goes.
He can right now because soccer. There's so many people who show up for minor soccer. You can't find a parking spot. So, but there's a guy.
There's a perfect example.
You're right. I'm really glad you
Who's
brought
this guy?
it up.
That's right.
He's Val. Just Val.
Val.
You're right.
He just shows up.
We call
and
him Pops.
Yeah, and he gives it to us, and we give it back to him.
Yeah.
And he's having fun, and he's making it fun for us.
Yeah.
And the players all know him, and he gives it to the players.
He takes pictures and stuff like that. He just loves it.
Yeah, no, I liked seeing him at the field when I was there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go out and sit in the bench there and enjoy a good baseball game.
You know what we'd like to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this offer to you.
What's that?
You come out and on the field with us for an inning or two.
Sure.
Shadow, yeah.
Yeah, you come out and shadow.
Yeah, sure. I can do
And
that.
I'll tell you, if I'm doing the plate and you're with Louie, I'll probably ask you to come and do the next game and tell him to stay home. We have a good time.
Yeah,
we have a good time
exactly.
together because
Absolutely.
we've known each other
Yeah.
since he played high school hockey.
Yeah.
And that's another
That's a
story.
long time. Yeah.
That's another story.
Oh yeah, we can go another show on that one. That's for sure.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys coming in. I appreciate what you guys are doing. You're still doing it. You're making baseball. You're keeping it. You're helping keeping baseball going, and I think it has. It's worth it. It's worth it as a sport. It's people should appreciate it a bit more and try to get their kids in it.
Yeah. But it's also a two-way street, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to do what we can to help the game, and the game's allowing us to still be part of it,
Yeah. Right.
which is important. So thank you.
Thank
Right
you.
on. Well, there you go. Small Town Times. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, but most importantly, subscribe to the Back in the Bay magazine. Summer edition is coming out very soon. There might even be a little bit of a pointer towards this interview in it. But it's all about community. Also, my other job with the NorthBayEcho.ca, check it out and subscribe to the newsletter. Pretty please. Have a good day.